welcome to my little corner of the interweb, where I talk about all things knitty. Well, that's the plan anyway. I have been wanting to do this for quite a while, because I don't have anybody around me who knits. I actually live in the tropics, which is kind of crazy for a knitter who knits wool in the tropics where it's hot and you don't need wool, but nevertheless I do it anyway. Not saying I wear a lot of it, but I wear what I can. So I thought I might just give this a whirl, see if anybody wanted to listen to me, and if they don't, that's okay. This is just an opportunity for me to sort of look at myself and talk about all things knitty. I've been knitting since I was about 7. I was taught by my great aunt who knitted dolls' clothes for me, and actually taught me how to knit for a badge for brownies, I think, which is sort of like girl guides here, like young girl guides. And she taught me to crochet, she taught me to knit, and I've always done some kind of craft. I stumbled back into knitting probably about 5 or 6 years ago, maybe a bit more. As we were going camping, and I didn't want to be sitting around with food in my hand and a wine glass in my hand the whole time. I wanted to be doing something other than just sitting there and reading. And I thought, I'll grab some wool, I'll grab some needles, and I'll just play. Well, before I knew it, I'd fallen into the YouTube blogging rabbit hole of knitting, and I became a knitter with a capital K in moments. I have quite a yarn stash. I actually believe that there are 2 crafts that I do. One is knitting, and the other is purchasing craft supplies. I can get lost for hours in websites and Ravelry and hunting out different patterns and combinations. So I thought I would follow kind of the traditional format of what people do in a knitting podcast. They talk about finished objects, FOs, they talk about works in progress, and then they talk about things that they've purchased. I'm trying really hard this year to knit from stash. This is actually a 6-foot high bookcase behind me, and it is stacked to the brim with yarn every single shelf. I actually had to give away some books in order to find somewhere neat to sit all of this stuff. There's more over there, along with knitting books and knitting needles and all of my crafty stuff. And I will try and give you one tip, sort of one tip on knitting that I have found invaluable each time we chat. I don't know how often I'll do this. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get it edited and uploaded and all of those YouTubey things that we need to do as bloggers. And from what I can gather, most of the channels I follow online, they're not fans of editing. So hopefully that will be a little bit easier for me. I work in the marketing space, so social media is something that I do Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. So hopefully it won't be too hard for me to get my head around. Anyway, get on with some finished objects, shall we? I might start with this here. This is stunning. It is so soft. I have no clue when I'm likely to wear it, and I wonder if I should put it on. Oh, look. I'm never offended when people mess their hair up on one of these videos, so let's see. Do I look all right? I actually can't see a thing because I'm blind as a bat without my glasses, but my glasses are reflecting, so we'll just go with it. So this is a hat by Lily Kate Francis, I want to say. Let me just check my notes. See the reflections? You can see everything. Notes on the first page. Lily Kate France. Okay, so I really like this. I really, really like it. It's super. It's got that gorgeous picot detail around the edges. Oh, now I understand what people talk about when they talk about fluff. This is a Grocery Girls pom-pom. I'm like anybody in the knitty world, or most people in the knitty world, I'm a huge Grocery Girls fan. Missed their video this week. I think they were off at an event. Anyway, to talk about this. So now my hair's messed up for the entire chat. But anyway, it is what it is. So the great thing about this is the brim is triple layered. So you actually, so it's quite a big knit, like a long knit. But the great thing is it's just this super classy finish. Just a super, super classy finish. So what yarn did I use? I actually, to do this, I wanted to use the rest of some leftovers that I have from my mystery knit along with Stephen West. That's what this one is here. And it's this colourway here, which is Mrs. Crosby Hat Box, which is a 5-ply or a sport weight, merino cashmere nylon, beautiful, in the creme fraiche colourway. Now that had been sitting in my stash for quite a while, yeah, sort of from when I first started knitting a good few years ago, and I figured I wanted to knit from stash this year, so I cracked it and wound it up and used it in this beautiful shawl. So I had a little bit left over, and I figured that there would be enough for this beanie or hat. It's called the Better Now beanie, if I haven't already said that. But I ran out. I was going to run out of yarn, so I threw in some Lolodidit plush sock in the pure colourway to make sure I had enough to get to the end. So with the pure, you can probably see the little dark kisses of a, it's actually showing up better on camera than it is in real life, of charcoal in there, which is just so pretty. The dark colour is Fulsome, which is colourway Lolodidit. Again, I'm a huge Lolodidit fan. And the mohair is Knit Picks Aloft, which is quite reasonably priced. Mohair, I don't, it's really hard for me to wear mohair. I live in the tropics. It's actually 34 degrees outside today, Fahrenheit. And I think with the humidity, it makes things feel, makes the temperature feel about 44 degrees Celsius. So it's super hot. I've actually got to have the air conditioner on 24/7 in order to be able to wear anything other than bra and knickers. Really, it's bloody hot here. So that's my first finished object for 2022, the Better Now Beanie. Really happy with it. I'll probably gift it. Or not. I'll just hang it here. Look at it. Maybe. Okay. I need to, I wanted to make sure that I remembered everything I was going to talk about. So my first socks of the year, or maybe my second, no, my first pair of socks for the year. I knit socks as well. I work in air conditioning and can wear boots to work, and I spend a bit of time visiting Cape York. Remote Indigenous communities is a lot of the work that I do, and I often need to wear boots up that way. So so I knit socks, and when you're with jeans and things, and I don't wear them as often as I would like. I've probably got enough pairs to last me a lifetime, but this year I committed to knitting a pair of socks a month. Don't know why. Just, you know, one of those silly goals that you make for yourself. Sorry, my glasses are reflecting. So this particular pattern is a Helen Stewart pattern, Aussie girl too, like me, and it's called the pattern is the Magnolia Socks. So let me see if you can see the gorgeous, gorgeous pattern. So that runs right down the front. Slip stitch heel, turned heel. I followed the pattern pretty close. Actually, I followed it completely. I did exactly what Helen told me to do. Not often I'm well behaved, but I was well behaved. So yeah, stunning. Again, it's a Lolodidit yarn in their everyday sock. Lolodidit sock is, oh no, let me talk to you about what. It's plush sock. Excuse me, excuse my back. It's plush sock as well. Lolodidit, this is the Pride and Joy colourway. Lolodidit. I've got a lot of her yarn. And this is 75 superwash merino, 15% nylon and 10% tencel, which gives it sort of like a little really delicate shine, but it's not sparkly. I just really like it. It's probably one of my, I knit it all the time. So yeah, so my second finished object for 2022 is the Magnolia Socks. The colourway is the Avienda colourway. I've got no idea what Avienda refers to, none at all. But it's just this gorgeous, gorgeous semi-solid, quite rich. It's gorgeous. So yeah, there you go. My third finished object for 2022 is just, I've called these my strawberry and vanilla socks on Ravelry. You can find me on Ravelry. I am Kylie G on Ravelry. And I'll start I'll probably put some show notes in there too or something. Start a group. I don't know. People may not care. Whatever. This is just a, I've put the recipe on my Ravelry page. I try and be quite disciplined about Ravelry. There's some real satisfaction, isn't there, in finishing I think in finishing a project and getting the photos uploaded and sharing it on Ravelry and inspiring other people. I find that incredibly inspiring, and like I have already said, I can fall into the Ravelry rabbit hole and get lost in people's projects and people's creativity and just have an absolute blast. But yeah, so all of my projects are listed in a fair amount of detail on Ravelry. So This is the first time I've ever done any duplicate stitching. Little love heart. They don't match. They're different sizes. And I was just keen to get them off my needles. So I did the duplicate stitch in the Avienda colourway, and this particular yarn I think is from an Aussie indie dyer called Saltwater Yarns, and in the Snapper colourway, and I think, memory serves me correctly, forgive me, it's her salty sock base, and it's Pink Snapper is the name of the colourway, and that's the Avienda that I just started. So the recipe, I love the partridge eye. I love this fancy twisted heel. I just think that's reminds me of fish scales, but I just really like the subtle texture that it provides. So I will generally use this heel. I always do a top-down sock, and I've used Kay Jones Umbrella Toe in this. So this is kind of a this pattern's just a mishmash of my sock knowledge, limited as it is. But yeah, really pretty. Fits really well. Cute. So yeah, strawberry and vanilla socks. Very cool. Very happy with them, they're so soft. Okay, now I decided at the beginning of the year that I was going, or maybe December, I started this sort of in the lead up to Christmas. This is the Johi Locatelli design. It's the Wishes cardigan. Now, oh, it's just stunning. It's just stunning. Towards it, this is only, I've pulled this off the blocking mats this morning, so this is the first first time I'm talking about it, but it took an eon to knit. It felt like quite an epic knit. So now it's going to be really hard for me to show this to you because of cameras and stuff, but I'll give you an idea. Now what I've done, I actually didn't do any of the shaping, and I just finished it off with an I-cord bind off, which I really like. It gets quite cold in my office at work, and my uniform shirt is black, very boring, but I wanted something that I could just throw on that was a little bit, not too tight, not too, you see, there's just miles and miles of fabric, like just miles of it. In the end, or towards the end, after, because you actually, there's 3 sets of increases across the back, across through the body of it, and by the time you get down to the tail end of the knit, the rows were taking like 20 minutes, 30 minutes to knit, and this is a fingering weight yarn, for goodness sakes. You know, I knit mostly in fingering weight because I live in the tropics, so I need to wear relatively light knitwear. So, but this is knit in Northbound Knitting. I love her yarn too. I'm a little bit of a fan of hers. In the, I think it's the Midnight colourway. It's looking quite stripy on the screen, but it really doesn't look this stripy in real life. So I've knit this for work. It's in her merino silk fingering, which is just, it's so soft. It's just a real delight to knit with. And designed for me to comfortably sit at my desk and just plough through loads and loads of project work in the office where it can get quite nippy. I suppose I'm lucky I work in air conditioning living up here, otherwise I'd never get to wear my knits. So really love the shape of this sleeve. Like I'm going to do this again because it's just so cozy. And let's face it, you know, as you sort of start to age, your arms aren't your best feature, are they? It's a tight arm. It's not. And too hot. It's too hot to wear it. I'm going to take this off. It's quite warm in here. Too hot. So just to show you at the back, I don't know if you can see, there's a couple of the increased rows. Other than that, I suppose the only other modification I made was I knitted slightly longer between the increases. It took exactly 4 skeins of yarn, and I just knit until I think I had a tiny little nugget left. In the end, I was actually weighing the yarn each row, just to make sure that I had enough for a decent enough ribbing and a bind off. So I did ribbing here. I did I-cord on the sleeves. As with all of Hohi's patterns, it's never a dull moment. You how you arrive at the finished garment is fascinating, just fascinating. I've knit a number of her patterns now, and I guess the thing I like is that her gauge is very similar to mine. So whilst I'm getting better at swatching, and I always swatch except for hats and socks, you know, but I find Hohi's pretty bang on. Her gauge and my gauge are pretty bang on, so yeah, really happy with that. So that I can take some photos of that now, and hopefully by the time this video is uploaded, if it's ever uploaded, I may chicken out completely and just think, oh, that was fun, sitting talking to myself about my knitting for however long I'm going to sit here. But yeah, so that's my last finished object for so far this year. I have a goal to knit a pair of socks a month, and I want, oh no, it's not my last, no, I've got one more. I actually don't have it with me anymore, so I'll put a photo in here. What I knit was one of my girlfriends at work is having a baby, little baby girl. So I knit her a little summer top and embroidered it with a teddy face on the front, just something tiny. I love baby knits, they knit up so quickly. And people are always surprised, especially nowadays when they receive hand knit gifts when they're having babies. I think it's really cute, really sweet, and certainly not something that's done here in Australia all that often anymore. So yeah, so I knit this in Lolodidit in the Yeti colourway, and it's merino cashmere silk. I think it's in the Dreamy base. And the Dreamy base is, let's see if I can find, you can generally pick it a mile off. The Dreamy base. Oh, so soft. This is a Lolodidit in the I Heart Maggie It may be discontinued, but this is Lolodidit, the Dreamy. And it's 70% merino, 20% silk, and 10% cashmere. Oh my God. I know it seems a bit much for a baby, really, doesn't it? But, you know, they are precious. At least until they grow up. No, joking. No, they are precious. Babies are precious. So, and the girl at work that I knit it for is just a dream. She's, yeah, really going to miss her while she's on that leave. Hope she comes back. So, yeah, so that was my last finished object for so far this year. So as I was saying, my goal is to knit a pair of socks a year, a pair of socks a month rather. Sometimes it feels like a year. In total, I'd like to knit 40 items this year. It's probably a little ambitious, but we'll see. So, what am I knitting at the moment? I've got 3 projects that I'm actively working on. I'm a typical knitter in that I develop a problem called cast-onitis, and I cast on a lot. So let me talk about my socks for this month so far. Look at that. We're only a week into the month. My God. So this is another Helen Stewart sock pattern, Lavender Fields, I think, and I'm knitting this in Nundle Woolen Mill, which is a woolen mill in New South Wales, not far from where I lived for about 10 years. And you can do tours of the mill, and yeah, just fabulous. I've got some, even though I'm on a knitting yarn diet, like any diet, I managed to break it pretty quickly the minute I said it. But this is the sock yarn in the grey colourway. I knit my socks, my needles of choice are Chiaogu. I pretty much use them for everything. 2.25. Yeah, so really, really pretty. Really pretty. Just a little lace detail. So I've only got one sock, you know, and I'm onto the foot. So I can generally finish a sock in a day and a bit if I'm really not doing much else. So, yeah. The other thing that I'm working on at the moment is sparkly top. A love note. I know, right? So, this is my love note. I'm knitting these on size 6 Chiaogus in the round, and I cast this on yesterday. So, I actually did, Foxy had a, Foxy, I'll put the link in the down bar. I'll put the link in the down bar. But Foxy had a provisional cast on that used another cord for your interchangeable needles, and I did that and then realised that it was all too just cumbersome, and I hadn't used a long enough cord, and it was all getting a bit much. So I've just put it on this. This isn't barber pole. It's not the barber cord that other people are using. I just got that from the craft shop, just Sling Craft, or you know, which would be like your Michaels, I suppose, in the US, or whatever if you're in the US. It's just the PVC that they use for kids beading, and it's cheap as chips. And then I've used one of these like popper drawstring cord fastener to keep it all together. I actually felt really smart working that out all by myself, but it's working beautifully for my provisional cast on, so I actually don't need to go back and pick up stitches from a crocheted on provisional cast on. Not that that's hard, but I think this might be a lot easier. So I'm just following the pattern. I'm about ready to start the lace motif. Now, I don't know if you can see, oh yeah, you can see the sparkly there. So I'm holding 3 yarns together. Lolodidit in their everyday sock in the Fulsome colourway. That rich, gorgeous. It's just such a solid, deep charcoal. It looks black, but it's she does do a darker one now. At the time when I bought this was the darkest colour that Lolodidit dyed. But this is just lovely. My husband's got socks in this, and he loves them. Yeah. So it's just beautiful, beautiful. So the sparkly that I'm using is actually Kremke, I think, Stellaris. Now, I was lucky enough to be able to get this here from my nearest yarn shop. Oh, it's not my nearest, it's in Sydney, so about 3,500 kilometres away from where I live. You know, where it gets a little bit colder than it does up here. From Skein Sisters in Sydney. So, and it's really easy to work with. It just adds a really nice sparkle. So I guess, you know, the thing is, this is another one that I got. I actually got this one from, I think I got this one from the Spacery Co. in Canada. So they do it in a gold. So yeah, I just figured it was a nice way to, because I don't have a lot of sparkle sock yarn, and I figured this was a really nice way for me to be able to just switch things up slightly, because you know. So yeah, so that, and then I'm holding that with a Kremke, which is this Kremke Silky Kid that I also got from Skein Sisters in Sydney. So, and this is in the, now I'm looking at, oh gosh, how to feel old really quickly is try and do things without your glasses on. So this is 70%, 72% mohair and 28% silk. Sole wool, Kremke sole wool, just lovely, really nice. So that's a little bit of fun, you know, as we head into, you know, it'll be winter soon enough. I'm going to do the lace pattern. I think I might do it cropped, which is not something I would normally knit, and I'm just going to do short sleeves at this stage, I think. But that's the love note. And yeah, I'm about ready to start the lace. So it's getting a bit, oh, it wasn't getting late last night. It was, I don't know, ridiculous o'clock, 7:30 or something, and I figured it was time to go to bed. So I crawled into bed and read for a little while before, yeah. So that's just love it. So that's actually an acquisition. Those the Kremke gold Stellaris, black and gold Stellaris, and the silky terrible because I'm on a yarn diet. It's like being on a yarn diet and eating chocolate. It's a bit like being on a diet and eating chocolate, isn't it? Anyway, it is what it is. So what else am I working on? I jumped on the half and half wrap train, and oh my god, I don't know why I do this, but sometimes I think that I know better than people who have been designing knitwear for a very long time, and I'm going to modify stuff before I even get out of the gate. So we were camping. I know it sounds like we camp a lot. We don't. It's just something that we do every now and then. This is I started this in September last year. It's my husband's birthday camping weekend. He wanted to go camping for his birthday. With a whole heap of mates. So I cast this on. I didn't cast on the large. I cast on 300 stitches without really thinking it through. So this thing is, honest to God, it's about 1.5 meters wide. Crazy, right? Crazy. So I've just started the second colour. So I'm doing it in the yarn I'm using is Holst Garn. Now I buy my yarn. I love this. It's a nice cotton wool blend, which is great for where I live. And I tend to buy it in the larger hanks. This colour is called, does it say? Silver grey. It's a silver grey, and the other colour is, oops, let me put my glasses on again, is J. So, and it's 55% old and 45% foam old, whatever that is. But it's yarn and it's wool and cotton. And it does bloom nicely. It doesn't bloom as well as some people say on the internet. You know, you sort of, people do reviews of it and it bloomed beautifully, and you know, well, I didn't find that. It is a little bit scratchy to work with. It's certainly not a merino superwash, and compared to a lot of the other stuff I use, it's not as soft and lovely, but it's incredibly practical for where I live. So I'm just following the pattern, despite the fact that I figured I knew better, and I cast on 300 stitches. So this, honest to God, this is like, oh, it's like knitting a king size sheet. It's not quite, but that's how it feels. So it's, but it's just nice potato chippy knitting. I'm on the second colour now, so, which is a grey, and yeah. The great thing about knitting from these incredibly ridiculous kinds is you don't have to, there's no ends to weaving. Consistent colouring, which is great. You get that with Holst Garn anyway. And you don't have to wind yarn, which is amazing. For some reason I avoid winding skeins. I even got myself an electronic ball winder to make it less painful. I dislike winding yarn so much. So yeah, so that's the other thing I'm working on. I'll be honest with you, this sits by my chair, and I sort of ran out of puff with it, as you do, because I remember how long it took me to knit this part of it. Well, look, haven't I? I've looked after it, haven't I? And I just split that all into a nice bag here. And so yeah, so that's the last thing. My Hohi bag. Love this. Sits in my, it's actually, you know, sits in my lounge room. So one other thing that I bought just recently, which is a new to me yarn, is the Magpie Fibres Swanky Sock. This was a decadent buy. I got this from Skein Sisters in Sydney just recently, and it's ridiculous. It's almost $56 a skein. So really, really expensive buy. Well, I think it is anyway. But it is just, it's, oh, what do they say? It's like butter. Butter. But it is lovely. And I'll probably knit a cardigan with this. I wear cardigans more than I wear jumpers because, hello, tropics. And they're an outfit that I can pop on and pop off quite easily. So, yeah. I don't know what I'm going to knit with it. But it was in stock and there were just enough skeins for me to buy for a sweater. So I pressed buy, added it to my cart, thought about it, went and made a cup of tea. Came back and pressed buy. So yeah, such a gorgeous colour. It's called In the Navy, I think. In the Navy, yeah, by Magpie Fibres. And it's, you see the sheen on that. It's just stunning, just lovely. So, yeah. So I mentioned to you earlier that Nundle Woolen Mill is who I'm doing my my socks for March. Are in their colourways. I apologise for the crinkle. Apparently that upsets people. Never bothers me, but so they're really reasonable. They do 50 gram balls of sock yarn, which is, I think it's 75.25. It is 75.25, and it's lovely to knit with. It makes lovely socks. So that's Nundle collection sock yarn. Nundle is a little country town, tiny country town, just outside of Tamworth in New South Wales, about, I don't know, about 50-60 k's outside of Tamworth. And you can tour their mill and see how they create and dye, and it's just, oh, for yarn nerds, it's kind of crazy. And just the size of the machines are so big and so old and just stunning. And it's not far from where my daughter lives. It's a couple of hours from where my daughter lives now, one of my daughters, and we went there a few years ago. I now buy yarn from them online every now and then. So this is their navy colourway. I think this is navy. Yeah, navy. So I got enough for a pair of navy socks. Put that down there. I got it in this gorgeous, oh my god, like picking colours on a screen is really tough. But this is the Fern colourway. Look at that green. They're the green that is really on trend at the moment in fashion. A really cool pair of socks, you know. And this, I also got one of their undyed hanks. So you can actually, you can actually buy undyed yarn. So they supply this to indie dyers, and I figured I just love this natural colour. I mean, you know, if somebody were to ask me what my favourite colour is, I'd say white. So I really like a natural colour. But yeah, I figured this paired with this in a sock with a little bit of, just cute, right? Cute. So that really fashionable green, and I can wear green. So I figured I'd give it a try, see what it looked like. So I got that. Oh, love this. Sorry, sprinkles. Mustard. Blowing out a little bit. Oh, look at me saying it's blowing out a little bit, sounding like very much like a YouTuber. But the mustard colourway. Yeah. Got enough for a pair of socks in that. Just cute, hey? Reminds me of Colonel Mustard in the library with the whatever. So, and then I got some black. My husband just recently bought some work socks. Didn't spend a lot of money on them, but he's gone through them in, like commercial socks, he's gone through them in, it's got holes in them. Now, he works in people's homes from time to time, and polite gentleman that he is, he takes his shoes off at the door. Well, there's nothing more unattractive than a man who's got holes in his socks. Looks like nobody loves him. I, of course, love him quite a bit. So I've made him socks before. Honest to God, it's like he's got size 12 feet. So it's, you know what they say about men, big feet, big shoes. So he's got size 12 feet. So it's like, honest to God, it's like knitting a sleeping bag. It's ridiculous, especially on 2.25 needles. But he does quite love them. And I quite love that it's something that I can knit for him, because he won't wear a jumper because we live in the tropics. So I figured I'd get some of this Nundle wool just in the black for him to for work, and I'll get another colour. His logo, he works for himself, so his logo is sort of like a fluoro green. So I'll get some fluoro green to trim it with, or not, just black with grey, whatever. But yeah, so I've got some black to do that with, and then, oops, and then one more. I in this gorgeous, it's tealy blue. That's blowing out a little bit. Listen to me. It's blowing out a little bit. In the blue gum colourway. So yeah, that's it. That's all the shopping I've done, which is more than enough, I think, for now. Anyway, yeah. So I can put those away now. They've actually been sitting out for a little while because I've been toying with the idea of doing this podcast thing for a little while now, and yeah. So, and I figured that I would finish with a tip a week, or a tip each time we chat. Now I haven't been knitting for 20 years, but I've been knitting for 5 years, and I knit every day. I love it. It's an unusual day if I don't knit, and when people ask me what I'm doing on the weekends, I'm knitting. If I'm sitting, I'm knitting. I joke, but anyway. So I live a really long way away from yarn shops. So my nearest yarn shop is about 2,500 kilometres away, or 2,000 kilometres away in Brisbane. So if you're unfamiliar with the lay of the land in Australia, you know the pointy bit, Cape York, the pointy bit, top of Australia, I'm right up there. I live right up there. It is tropical. So yarn stores and specialty local yarn stores aren't something that we have here at all. The closest to me or something like that would be a Lincraft or a Spotlight. And whilst they have, you know, they have yarn, it's not the sort of stuff that the people I watch online knit with. So my nearest yarn store, as I said, is Brisbane. And I try and visit a yarn store when I travel down that way, which I don't do all that often. And certainly in COVID times, my gosh, you know, we haven't gone anywhere for a really long time, have we? So I needed to be able to rely on being able to pick colours for yarn on a screen to buy online. And I have done that with some fabulous success. I've also done it with some epic fails. You know, there's nothing worse than when a yarn turns up and it's not quite your wheelhouse. It looked like your wheelhouse on the screen, but it's not quite your wheelhouse. So I've started buying, when it's offered, shade cards. So this is my tip. Buy a shade card. You will be so thankful, especially if you do a lot of your shopping online. Now, I don't profess that you shop online if you have a local yarn store that you can go and visit, because let's face it, you know, yarn fumes are a thing. But these are put together in order, this one I just had arrive in the post from, in my last order from Nundle Woolen Mill. And it just makes it so much easier for me to have a conversation with myself if I'm about to buy some more yarn, or with a family member if I'm going to be doing some knitting for them, or a friend, or just to play with, because, you know, let's face it, does feel kind of nice. So shade cards, they are, honest to goodness, worth the time and energy that the manufacturers use to put them together. The great thing about this is also, this one that's come from Nundle Woolen Mill, is that they've also sent along a sample of, sorry, I'll turn that around, of the different thicknesses of yarn. So in Australia, we don't actually use the terms fingering, DK, Aran. It's not terminology that we use here. We use the English, which is 4-ply, 8-ply, 12-ply, 10-ply. So when I first started knitting and watching blogs and things, I really needed to work out what that all meant. Anyway, the great thing is this card also has the thicknesses, the different thicknesses of yarn that they make. Nundle Woolen Mill does a 72-ply. Could you imagine? There'd be 4 stitches in a jumper. Sweater. Anyway, that's my tip for you for today. So, I hope you found that interesting and kind of entertaining, and enjoyed spending some time with me talking about my knitty life. I am Kylie G, and this is a knitting podcast. And if you could do the click and subscribe and all that YouTubey stuff, I'd appreciate it. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment. I'll read them, because there'll probably only be 2. One from my daughter and one from my husband making fun of me. Probably. But yeah, thanks for stopping by, and I'm going to go and try and edit this now and see what that looks like. Anyway, I hope you have a fabulous, fabulous rest of your week, and I look forward to catching up with you next time.